What if your kids were wealthier than you, retired by the time they're your age? This is not a pipe dream, something we just hope happens. It will all come down to what they are exposed to and what they absorb along the way. They will absolutely crush the game if they can get this right. The last lesson we touched on saving. Today, we crank it up a notch. We talk about investing, more specifically, the stock market. Did you know that as of June 2023, according to Mr. AI, over 5 million children were part of the Australian population? Of that 5 million, only 16% of them were invested in the stock market. Now, the stock market isn't the be-all and end-all, but if you could start this journey for them, they will be part of that 16% of kids getting one hell of a head start. One I know I wish I had when I was a child. Now, let's get to it. This topic may be a little advanced for some kids. You can make a decision on whether they can comprehend this or not. As a guide, probably ages 11 into the teens, I started by giving my kids a simplified definition of what investing is. Investing in a nutshell is when we use our money to make more money. Think of it like this. Every dollar you have are soldiers. We are sending them out to work, ideally coming back with more soldiers. Going out every day to work and make more and more until we have built an army. Making your money work for you while you sleep. This is the concept we want our kids to understand. This is huge. You see, by and large, we are trading our time for money every day with our normal 9-to-5 jobs. Considered the worst trade-off we will ever make, as we can never get that time back. So if we can make our money work, you may be getting some of that time back, minimizing the amount of time we have to work in the future. When investing in the stock market, we give our money to a company, essentially paying to become part owner of that company. What does that mean? If the company performs well, makes a lot of profit, more people tend to invest in that company, making the price go up. Meaning any money we have invested increases. More soldiers go into war every day to increase your wealth. But remember, this can also go the other way if the company performs poorly. You can own companies like Disney, McDonald's, Netflix, and many more. If your kids are younger, this is probably all they need to know on this topic for now. As with all of these lessons, you could just follow up a week later and ask them what investing is. Always follow up over and over each lesson until this is punched into their little heads. Don't just roll to the next aimlessly. Remember, although this topic of finance and being financially free gets you excited, your kids at this stage really don't give a shit. Your son just learned how to spell boobs on a calculator, and your daughter is more concerned about losing her Insta streak. But this will change, and they just need to know that these vehicles exist. Okay, Mum, Dad, why are you telling me this? Why should I invest my money? Why not just save it? Well, first, let's explain to them what interest is, and let's keep it very simple. Interest is like a reward you get for letting someone borrow your money. If you give your money to someone, you get the reward, called interest. If you are borrowing the money, then you have to pay the reward to the lender. When you deposit your money into a bank account, they will use your money to make more money, which is why you get the reward. When you invest in a company, they will do the same. Again, you get the reward, assuming they do good things with that money. So back to it. Why invest? Why not just save? Explain to your kid. Let's say you have $1,000. You decide I'm going to do one of three things. Either buy that gaming laptop I've been eyeballing for months, put it into a savings account, or invest it in the stock market. Let's start with the laptop. You, your child that is, let's say you're 15. You buy a laptop. By the time you were 65, you would have probably bought and gone through 10 laptops, each with a resale value of less than half what you paid for it. That $1,000 has done no work for you. In fact, you've lost money as your laptop has decreased in value. What a waste of money. And you're now 65, Unc, relying on your super to retire. Now the savings account. You put $1,000 in to begin with. The interest you earn at the time of recording is around 5% per year, which is pretty high. We are sitting in a high interest environment at the moment. A few years ago, you were lucky to get 1%, but let's go with 5. By the time you are 65 in 50 years, not only have you well and truly reached Unc status, your $1,000 is now just shy of $12,000. Your initial $1,000 has generated over $11,000 of interest. This is the reward, assuming rates stay at 5%, which they historically won't. This is a very optimistic interest rate. Now let's look at investing in the stock market. A low-fee ETF like the Vanguard S&P 500, which is the top 500 companies in the US all rolled into one. This has delivered an average return of 10% per year since 1957. Your $1,000 by the time you're 65, 50 years later, will now be over $117K. $1,000 of your money and $116,000 of interest. The reward you get. But let's not stop there. Let's look at our investing option again, but add a measly $20 a week to this. If you were able to invest $1,000 at 15 years old and add $20 a week into the set and forget style ETF, you would have deposited $52,000 of your own money and generated over $1.2 million in interest, leaving you with $1.3 million. Now that's a reward from an extra $20 a week. At first glance, you look at this and you think, how did my $52,000 earn over $1.2 million? Again, we are sending soldiers out to work every minute of every day to make more money, even while we sleep. This is the magic that is compound interest, another term we want them to get their heads around. So what is it? Compound interest allows your money to make more money because you earn interest on the money you invest, then you will earn interest on that interest and interest on all of that interest. Imagine rolling a snowball down a mountain. It picks up more snow on the way down, getting bigger and bigger the further it rolls down the hill, until it is massive. This is compound interest, earning interest over interest every year. There is a link in the description to a compound interest calculator. You can play with some amounts, interest rates, and number of years. So remember, compound interest is basically interest on interest on interest that just keeps folding over itself, allowing your money to make more money. You'll be surprised at what you can earn after multiple years. It starts slow, but builds quickly the more years you leave it. And that's something that your kids have a lot of, years. The thing they lack other than knowledge, at least for now, is the same thing you may have lacked, and that's patience. When you start, it's boring. It starts really slow, but if you take a look at the compound interest calculator, the magic starts to happen around year 10. Patience is key here. To get them a little more excited, you could ask them what sort of brands they like. My daughter liked Disney, which gave us a talking point. We researched Disney stock and imagined if we invested in it 10 years ago. My son likes Blizzard. They make a lot of the games he plays on his Xbox. That started a conversation about becoming an owner, not just a consumer, explaining that every time his friends purchase a game, that is potentially increasing his wealth as the company makes more profit. As I've said before, be careful how much you try to cram into these kids' little heads at once. Don't just move on to the next recap over and over. I'll typically do these lessons once a week with my kids so they don't dread doing it so much. And I've personally repeated this lesson over 3 weeks straight until I was confident they'd absorb these principles so they can answer these questions on their own. Like, what is investing? Remember, it's when we use our money to make more money. What is an interest rate? It is the reward you get when you lend someone your money, or the reward you pay to someone else if you borrow money from them. Another question is, if I borrow money from the bank, who gets the reward? The bank gets it. And what is compound interest? It's the ability to earn interest on interest on interest over and over. And if you, the parent, want to dive a little deeper into the stock market, click this video right here.